guys, Freaky Fishka here with another video. For those obviously of you who saw the part 3 of my series Year of the Water, Mermail at locals did not perform the greatest. This was in part due to my own experience with the deck. I did not play Mermail that much in the past. Obviously a long time ago I played it a little bit, but recently I haven't really been in touch. I went for a blind second approach, which did not unfortunately work well. In part 1, due to bad hands, and then 2, the matchups we had did not go our favour. But so, those hands, man, like I keep looking back at it, those hands were just not with us. So for today, I'm going to show you guys a Marincess deck profile, Marincess Frogs in particular, with the Paleo engine as well. I took this deck before the newish support, so Blue Tang and stuff, to regionals back in 2019. I went X3, which I don't consider that bad out of 7 rounds. Obviously, this was with just Frogs, Paleo, and Seahorse Turbo, effectively, as it wasn't back then, because we did not have the Link 4, we did not have Crystal Heart, and we did not have Blue Tang. As it is, I like this deck a lot. I will be testing this deck a lot for future formats. It doesn't get that better with Master 5, but why not? Anyway, guys, into the deck profile. Here we go. New support, I say new, it's been out for probably about 2 months now. 3 Blue Tang. This is the card you want to see. Before it was Seahorse, now this is the card. It fulfills a lot of roles that deck was lacking before. So on normal summon, you just send any Marincess monster from deck to grave. Your target should always be Seahorse, unless you have one in hand, just because that's how you get your Link engine climbing. When it's linked away, so as soon as you link it for Blue Slug, you get to excavate the top 3 and then add a Marincess card. You're mainly looking to add Marincess Current, which is a trap card, to start up your negates. If you also excavate a Mandarin and you don't have anything else, just add the Mandarin, maybe the field spell as well, but the Mandarin is also a good target. If you have the choice between Mandarin and trap card, always go for the trap card. This deck does lack inherent negates and things like that. The links don't really have a big effect in opponent's turn to affect their game state, really. But yes, always a really good card to open up. It is a level 4, so if you manage to get 2 out, you can make some rank 4s, but that's not the main aim of this deck. Moving on then, another 3 Seahorse. This card is what gets Marincess its sort of playstyle of just Link climbing and a lot of recoverability. You can special summon this to any zone a Marincess Link monster points to. So Blue Slug points down, Coral points down, things like that. Just immediately gets to summon itself. You add this. This is the one you always add back to hand. Sorry there, guys, because obviously it's the one that gets keeps recovering itself. Everyone kind of knows what this deck does if you play Marincess. This is the main thing you want to aim for. Next, our last Marincess monster we're playing. We're only playing 2 Mandarin, not playing any of the level 5, just because I didn't find its effect that relevant, and we need to streamline the chaff from this deck. There are a lot of Marincess cards that do not a lot of good, so most of the traps as well. Really simply, if you have 2 Marincess monsters on the full board, you can special summon this from your hand or grave, but it banishes itself when it leaves the field. Free extender, it helps making the Link 4, and the Crystal Heart and things like that. You can dump it off of the Blue Tang if you already had a Seahorse, and it's pretty good. Moving on next, it's my boys, the Swap Frogs. These aren't ulti because, as I've said before, I do not own a small little business in Morocco. So unfortunately I can't afford ultis. Maybe at one point I might max rate these, but they're quite nice. Really simple effect, discard a water, special summon it, on summon, dump a frog, sorry, level 2 Aqua, because it's a Ronin Totem, to the graveyard. Everyone knows what frogs do, these are really good cards. Sneaky thing, obviously you special it, discard like a Ronin Toad, if you're lucky, send another Swap Frog. I always keep the dupe frogs in the deck, just to summon off a Toad, and then you've already got a Toad straight away. If not, you can special it, dump 1, bounce it, special it again, loads of things like that, or you can just normal summon it. Mainly, I do my frog combo if I know my opponent doesn't have Nib. I do my frog combo last, because we add our Marincess cards back to our hand, and we can just discard these immediately for Swap Frog. If we know that like game 2 and 3 they're likely going to have Nib, I always try and do the frog combo first, just so we can set up a Toad maybe before they Nib, things like that. Moving on, 2 Dupe Frog, and then 2 Ronin Totem. So Ronin Totem is the one that way you can banish a frog from your grave to special summon it from your grave. Activate effects they can call by the grave this, and negate it as well. Other than that, it's a good link climbing material as well as Toad material. Dupe Frog, when it's on the board, your opponent cannot attack anything else. This includes the other Dupe Frogs. So if you have 2 on the board, your opponent cannot attack you at all. Really useful card. This does miss timing though when it's sent to grave for its grave effect, so if you send off Toad, it will not resolve, which is a bit of a problem. When you make your coral an enemy, the target you always want to summon is a Swap Frog, because it will trigger to send another one of these to the graveyard. So one of these plus a discard, plus one of these can equal like the link 3 plus Toad. I'm not too sure on the intricate combos just yet, but we'll get there. Moving on, hand traps. We are only playing 3 nib. I was testing Ash, and I've come to the conclusion this format that Ash isn't enough. Orcas have multiple ways of sending things to grave. Thunder have multiple effects on hand. Salaman, great, you can kind of get them on choke point of Starlo or Gazelle, but they still have multiple ways of gaining resources. Nibiru, yes, people can play around it, but there are a lot of decks still that suffer to a Nibiru, especially if people don't have access to a negate. Against Pendulums, yes, you see Pendulums are obviously the staple deck that you can play around Nib, but things like Orcust, unless they do win the shenanigans, they can't necessarily play around Nibiru. For us, because we're also playing Paleo and Marincess, we can recover a lot of resources really quickly, so we don't care if we have to wipe our board to stop the opponent from beating us. It's a bit of a sacrifice, but it's something that needs to be done. We can out the token with the Paleo traps, although it can sometimes be a small bit of a pain to out, so please bear that in mind. It is almost like a last-ditch effort. Moving on then, the only Marincess spell card that has been released so far, the Field Spell. It's kind of like Umi, where it gives you a 200 attack boost, yay. Other than that, it just means you get towers and you get attack boost for every crit monster. It's not the worst Field Spell, but it's not the best, certainly. We can search it for free, which is why it's in there. Obviously next, 3 Silent Minings. We're all Cyberse and Marincess, so staple card. We can maybe discard a Ronin Toad or a Swap Frog or a Dupe Frog if you have more frogs in hand to help set up Toad. Other than that, it just searches up your blue tang. 3 Call of the Grave, pretty much staple card. Stops hand trap, stops graveyard center decks. You can snipe things like Beta Jock, which is quite a tough matchup that I've seen coming up a lot. Also Quatless, because Dinos we see a lot of play soon. So yeah, we all know really what that card is there for. Next, moving on, the Marincess trap card, 3 Marincess Wave. So this is sort of like Imperm with benefits. If you have a link 3 or higher, you can add 2 from the hand. So in that case, it is Imperm. If you have a link 2 or higher, every monster you control is unaffected by opponent's card effects. This includes Toad, if you have it on board. So this is protection and a negate, and link 3 obviously you can add it back to your hand every turn. It is a shame though that Marincess don't have a proper way of searching this. They do have the new trap that just got revealed, where you banish a trap from your graveyard to add another trap to your hand. Or no, it was a monster, sorry. Not the best one, because you have to have a trap engraved, at which point you can just add it back to your hand with the link 3 anyway, so I won't really be running that. Moving on, next obviously we have our Paleo lineup. So 3 Dynamiscus, excellent removal. I've played this in a lot of decks recently. 3 Olenoids, your spell and trap removal. All these obviously trigger off the trap, so Marincess Wave as well will bring these back. And then the last 2 Candina. We're not playing Morella because we don't really care about dumping to grave. The only thing we'd want to dump is this. I still think it's a bit slow, and the other ones are pretty bad. Candina, we're not playing enough. So not Candina. The one that draws 2, I can't remember its name right now. We're not playing enough really to warrant playing the Reckless Greed, as I call it, effectively. They all do their job pretty well. They can make Toad obviously winning Brack, otherwise they are just there for link climbing and interruption. Moving on then, 3 Imperm. We play 6 Imperm in this deck, really good card. It helps us out going second, because obviously we're not playing proper hand traps. We can still negate things like that. Also triggers the Paleo. And then finally in the main deck, 3 White Howling. This was a tough choice for me. It is really good against obviously decks that depend on spells, so Striker, Pendulum, some cases Salaman great. Against things like Orcus, you can probably take it out, siding it out for things like Lancia. Other than that, it is just a pretty good card. You have to, it's basically Call of the Grave for spells, and then it becomes Imperial Order for the turn, which can become busted, especially if your opponent relies on spells a lot. Moving on then to our extra deck, we are playing 2 Blue Slug. We're not playing 3 of maxing out, because I don't really feel like you need to go through more, because you can recover them so quickly. You link this straight away and it adds back basically what you linked into it from. So if you have Seahorse, You summon the seahorse or blue tang send seahorse, link into this. It adds back the seahorse from your grave, which then obviously summons to the zone, and then you're ready to link climb. Moving on then, we have Sea Angel. I always go Seahorse into this, bring back, and then into Sea Angel. This adds the field spell, so it's almost like a Salamangreat Balinx or a Strike Dragon for rockets, if you're familiar with those. It is free access to the link monster, to the field spell, sorry. 2 Coral Anemone. So this is the one that people are playing with other decks. It is just simply a monster reborn for water decks to a zone it points to for a certain attack. Basically, you have to be a below 1,000 attack. Sorry, below 1,500 attack. It is pretty decent. It is basically another extender, so this obviously enables your Link 3 plays. If it's sent to grave as well, you get to add a Marincess card from your graveyard to your hand. So again, a lot of recovery. It can be a bit annoying with the arrows. I sometimes put this to the too far right zone, always trying to make up set up plays on the left. 1 Crystal Heart. The only reason this is here is because it enables our towers. Other than that, it's a pretty horrific card in my opinion. 2 Marbled Rock. This is my favourite Marincess Link monster. I actually love the art of this card more than Link 4 or any other Marincess card. Really good effect as well. Every turn you can add back a Marincess spell, trap, or monster card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is how you're going to recycle your wave. Obviously, if you have this on board as well, you can activate the wave from your hand. If it battles opponent's monster, you can discard a Marincess card. It will not be destroyed by battle, and you cannot take any damage. So again, really, really stable, good card for Marincess. We're only playing the 1 towers because we're only realistically going to make it once. While this is on the board, you can do it with this as well, but this is the one you really want to make. While this is on board and it enters a damage step, you can special summon one of the monsters equipped to it, so that's how you use the field spell. It cannot be destroyed by battle that turn, and again, you take no battle damage. So this deck's actually really good at tanking out hits. A Marincess mirror match just becomes a game of whoever draws into their outs first for the field spell. It's pretty good. Moving on, generic water links. 1 Mr. Boy, 1 Abysslacia, and then finally 1 Shooting Code Talker. The problem with this deck, I feel at the moment, is it locks you into waters. This means you don't have access to things like Boral Sword, Boral Load, the Nightmares, anything that can close out games quickly. Water don't have a Link 4 that is generically good, if you know what I mean. So Salamangreat have the Whale, which is actually a not bad fire link. Obviously Dark has the Boral Load, Boral Sword. Light has Avram, things like this. Water doesn't have that option. So if the Link 4 comes out for water, this deck would be actually really good. Otherwise, it is kind of impacted by it being locked into water. The reason we're playing 1 of each, so this one just enables board OTK, so if you have lots of Paleo and lots of just toads everywhere, you can just punch them in the face a lot. This is here for the scenario where we give our opponent the Gamecill Kaiju. Obviously, we don't want to boost them as well, so we just make this to boost our things to punch over it, because Toad and Gamecill have the same attack. Shooting Code Talker's just there to draw us loads of cards if we find the board state that's quite wide but not very powerful. Other than that, it's pretty much the only generic water card that's actually any good. Moving on to Xyz, 2 Toad, best boy in the deck, we all know what he does, and then 1 Abyss Dweller. If we manage to make 2 blue tangs, doesn't really come up that often. It's probably a combo to make this out. I'll find it out later if we need to. We're not playing Bahamut, obviously, because Master 5 is not yet in effect, and again, we don't really play that many level 4s, but Toad is good enough as it is. And 1 Unicorn token for good luck. Moving on to the side deck, guys. Pretty standard, 3 red reboot, just to deal with back row decks if we're going second. We can also set this if we're playing a back row sort of mirror match, because this again will trigger the Paleos. 3 Gamecill going second. You can discard this for Toad effect because it is an Aqua, so it actually has some viability still staying in the hand. Like we said, if you have this on board, the Toad will crash with it to try and make a Abyss Glacier beforehand. 3 Ash Blossom, because sometimes we actually do need to go second, and running a trap deck going second is never going to end well, so we just need to put in some ashes. 3 Twin Twisters, once again to deal with the back row decks. We're not playing Cosmic Cyclone because we prefer to sort of wipe the board as much as we can, so we can outgrind and out-resource our opponent. And then finally, 3 Water Barrier Statue. This is just there just to be cheesy. We can side out most of the Marincess engine and just rely on our traps and our generic Toad support. And there's nothing more fun than setting 4 normal summoning a barrier statue. and watching your opponent cry. So that was my Marincess deck, guys. I will be testing this before events and maybe taking it to event. I took Marincess Frogs to Chichester Regionals last year. This was before Blue Tang came out, and like I said, I went X3. With Blue Tang, the deck gets a lot better, but it's still lacking that final piece to make it amazing. I will still be testing out Mermail, obviously with Master 5 coming out, different decks, different variants of that, sorry. Maybe a hand loop variant will look better than the blind second approach I went for before. Otherwise, thank you very much, guys. This was Freaky Fish Guy. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment below. Any ideas you guys want me to do, I'm more than happy to take suggestions. Any water decks you're looking for me to test out, give me a shout. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.